Hello everybody. My name is Paula and I'm from First Class Holidays, and I'm here today to talk to you about the possibility of wildlife and whale watching and different adventures that are available to you with Miles Morgan in our lovely destination of Canada. So without further ado, I have a short presentation for you and I will be answering some questions at the end of the presentation. So if you have any questions, if you don't mind hanging on till then, and then just pop them in the chat and we can see what you guys would like to know. Okay, so here we go. Right. So as I say, I work with First Class Holidays, which are a tailor-made specialist operator to Canada, and we have been working with Miles Morgan Travel over endless years. To be honest, they're one of our closest travel agents, and as I'm sure you guys already all know, how wonderful and their ethos of looking after you as customers as the best they can, and we share very much a lot of that same ethos. So the reasons why that Miles Morgan send their clients to Canada with First Class is really because we are the best at what we do, quite simply. We have been voted numerous awards, but the main specialist one being by the Destination Canada travel agents as Best Tour Operator Canada. So we're very, very proud of the award-winning service and how many clients we've sent over the years. But more importantly for you, it's a case of it's your holiday your way. So we have the flexibility and freedom to tailor make a bespoke itinerary to no matter what you want to see and do in Canada and Alaska or anywhere in North America, and combining those types of holidays with the expertise of your wonderful travel agent, we can make sure that makes your dreams a reality, really, with regard to your itinerary. So anything you want to see or do, we can encompass that within your itinerary. The way that we do that as well is that we only work with the best local experts. We work with the best hotels. We work with the most centrally located accommodation. We work with the best guides, with the best sightseeing attractions. And that ethos that we carry through from Miles Morgan through to First Class is apparent overseas as well. And if for any reason that any if anything ever falls short, then we will not deal with a certain operator or a certain coach company. And to be honest, we never find that being an issue. The Canadians are wonderful, hospitable people, and they're so proud of their heritage and of their whole destination that we want to make sure we get you the best holiday. So please don't think that First Class means we only travel in First Class holiday. First Class service is all the way. So it's not a First Class budget. It's great value for money. And we do everything from moderate hotels up to the high end stuff. But irrespective, whatever your budget, whatever your destination or class of service you want to travel in, you will make sure that you get the First Class experience all the way. Okay. So I'm got the presentation is going to look at, bear with me one moment. We're going to look at the wildlife and whale watching hotspots throughout Canada. Now, this is quite a detailed map that I know you might not be able to zoom in on it all. However, all of this is actually featured at the front of our new Canada brochure, so of our current Canada brochure. So you can see that there is very much a concentration of the various wildlife attractions and opportunities of where is best to see and do. So everything from the whale watching icon through to obviously fishing and things like that, but through to the full colours as well at different parts of the eastern border of Canada. But primarily bear watching here. You can see bears in parts of French Canada, in Quebec as well, up to the polar bear country in Manitoba, and then over to Western Canada, and obviously going upwards as far as Alaska too. So we're going to look at these areas and sort of take it from these points of view to see what is the best things to see and do, when to go, and literally what type of holidays are available for you to encompass an amazing wildlife adventure. Now, getting to Canada is relatively easy. There are numerous flights that operate from the UK, from the main international airports, and even some from Bristol as well. So there are some with KLM regional airports as well via Amsterdam. But I just wanted to show you here how accessible Canada really is from anywhere. And obviously, because of its proximity to the USA, it's a really good opportunity if you want to do a multi-center holiday. We can help put that together. So if you want to, I don't know, stop off at Toronto, do Niagara Falls, like that's a picture of me, a short break to Niagara Falls before traveling onwards, or whether or not you want to go and visit Aunt Peggy in Chicago and then do a wildlife adventure in Canada. It's a really good point to know that your airfare, to be honest, is actually, you normally pay for the furthest point that you're traveling to, your dearest airfare. So it's quite inexpensive to actually stop and break your journey. So if you did want to do a stopover, it's a perfect opportunity of combining either different parts of Canada, different parts of the US, or even Alaska, or of course, even things like Iceland is a wonderful destination to do as a stopover. So just bear that in mind that Miles Morgan can help plan that route for you and encompass any areas you particularly want to see or do in whichever way, shape, or form. Now, we're going to make a start by looking at the eastern side of Canada and the wildlife and whale watching opportunities here. Now, Atlantic Canada is the closest part from the UK and is a combination of a few different provinces. Oh, my apologies. So we've got the likes of Newfoundland and Labrador, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick, that all collectively actually are called themselves Atlantic Canada. And you can see there is amazing opportunities. You can literally go on cruises to some of these areas. You can do whale watching. You can do kayaking down Iceberg Alley and do some whale watching in the background. You can go and do bear viewing over in French Canada. And a lot of customers these days are actually visiting Atlantic Canada for maybe their second visit to Canada. So it's becoming more and more popular because of its close proximity to the UK. I'll show you in a moment how close it actually is. But not only because it's so diverse and it's so different to Western Canada, everybody automatically thinks of the Canadian Rockies as the best wildlife. And of course, it's amazing. And we're going to look at that in a moment. However, Atlantic Canada is that little bit unique and is quite different. And a lot of people are actually combining Atlantic Canada with Quebec now. So it makes a perfect two-centre itinerary purely because of its proximity. And there is actually even a train that operates from Halifax to Montreal. It's an overnight train, and it's called the Ocean, and it's a wonderful train for anybody who wants to experience sleeping on board a train. So we're becoming more and more customers doing sort of Atlantic Canada, the Nordic influence, which you will see in some of my slides in a moment, with French Canada too. I'm going to touch on Ontario just with a couple of slides because, as you can see, Ontario is a very, very vast and beautiful province. But from a wildlife point of view, other than fishing and deer and some beautiful autumn colours, you won't tend to see that much wildlife, but purely because of Toronto and, of course, Niagara Falls, and any of you wanting to go to the vineyards and see the fall colours, people will often include that within an itinerary because of its wonderful attractions it has in its own right. However, you will see the wildlife and the whale watching in its neighbouring provinces. So marine wildlife and stunning nature is my header for this area. So you can, as I say, there are various whale watching tours available. If time is of an issue and you're just spending a couple of nights in Halifax, we do whale watching tours from there. But there's some beautiful, quaint fishing villages, all on this starboard. This Atlantic province is amazing. Iceberg Alley is named after that for all the various icebergs that are along the way. And there's lots of things like black bears in Kutchibuk National Park. There is the wonderful Cabot Trail for going off and exploring and walking and hiking. And And as I mentioned, twin centres with French Canada. So we do the Via Rail from Montreal, and you can combine that with doing the Wales and then going even up to Tadoussac. So this is some of the images, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that it is really quite Nordic and Scandinavian in parts of Atlantic Canada, and you will not see anywhere else in Canada like this. So this is what I mean by it's so diverse. Beautiful lighthouses, where we have some that you can even obviously visit and tour, but some you can even stay in as well. So what a wonderful adventure that would be. To the French city of Quebec. So this is the beautiful Fairmont Hotel that dominates the skyline, and you can just see it's just a French influence, just so different cafe lifestyle. And of course, I mentioned you can see some wildlife in Ontario. These obviously you can see deer almost anywhere in Canada, but there is quite a few in that area. But Ontario is known primarily for its beautiful lakes. Obviously, water activities are available for the novice or to the more experienced, but just beautiful, tranquil getaways. Some gorgeous resort stays around here as well. So you can easily do a resort stay, or maybe go and see the Atlantic side of Canada, go to French Canada, then maybe finish off with a lovely resort stay and just take in the tranquility. And I mentioned the autumn colours. New England is not exclusive to these beautiful colours, but the fall foliage runs obviously in the whole part of Eastern Canada. So depending upon the time of year that you're obviously travelling to, September, October time, you can see the fall colours, and they're absolutely amazing. Just be mindful, because of the situation of where Atlantic Canada is, that the season can be a little bit shorter, because obviously you are on the Atlantic, so the weather can be a little bit more adverse. So it does mean, if you are planning on going to Atlantic Canada, you really need to go by September time. There are some things open in early October, but a lot of the attractions, because of the inclement weather, it does tend to be a slightly shorter season. I mentioned Niagara Falls, which is only an hour and a half away from Toronto. So if any of you want to visit there as a day tour from Toronto, or it's on your bucket list to do that, it's a different type of wildlife experience. It's more the wild rapids there, but it's certainly well worth a visit if you haven't already done so. I mentioned how the close proximity is from the UK. And just to give you an idea, from London to St. John's, which is the closest Canadian airport and city, that's St. John's, Newfoundland, you're only talking about 6 hours flight. So it's a relatively short and easy accessible destination. And once you are there, as I say, it's very easy to get around. And I mentioned we can do short breaks even in Iceland on your way, should you wish to do that. So just the possibility are endless with this part of Canada. Now we're taking a hop, skip, and a jump over to one of the prairie provinces of beautiful Manitoba to see the polar bears. So Manitoba is one of the prairie provinces that's situated in central Canada. Its neighbouring province of Saskatchewan, we tend to do mainly, because that's mainly prairie land and a lot of horse riding and fishing. But unless maybe you haven't got relatives, most people will only visit Saskatchewan really, if they're doing a more thorough tour, or are visiting the prairies, or are into really agriculture and things like that. So I'm going to mainly talk about Manitoba and what the polar bear safaris are available. Now, Churchill is the polar bear capital of the world. It really, really is. It's a small town that obviously the polar bears are actually there first. So the town has been built up over the last few years, but is a very much protective environment. And the polar bears are just absolutely breathtaking. You can see, it depends how adventurous you are. If you want to go out and explore the tundra on foot, we have different types of tours available to suit everybody. So it's most people want to see the polar bears on the snow and see them in Churchill, usually around October, November time. Okay, so this is when we have different opportunities to either go out on foot, or to see them from the tundra buggies. So these are specially adapted buggies, and we do all various types of tours, staying. We even have a tundra buggy lodge that's actually one of these, well, a few of these has been converted into a lodge, or most people actually stay in the town of Churchill. We do photographic safaris as well for any keen photographers. But if not, even your, I mean, I know we've all got wonderful phones these days, so we can and capture some fabulous images of not only the polar bears, but obviously the other wildlife that is apparent around this time. And I did mention that you can see the polar bears in the summertime as well. So we do a lovely tour called Birds, Belugas and Bears, and I'm sure you will agree. I think the polar bears especially stand out against the beautiful fauna in the summertime. But that is an amazing trip to see and do, and especially there's not many places you can see belugas again in their natural habitat. So that's in the summer months, that one. I can't mention the polar bears without mentioning polar bear jail, and please don't be alarmed. It's very humane way of actually maintaining the habitats for the polar bears and making sure that they don't come into any danger, nor do the inhabitants of Churchill. So what happens that if the polar bears are in town and if they're rummaging for food, or just literally actually made the ways into Churchill themselves, they are tracked down and tranquilized and put in the polar bear holding facility, and then they are airlift to safety. So they are airlift back out to the tundra, so which is quite a few miles away. However, it's really for their own protection. We don't want them to associate humans with food, and them to come into the town and to feel, obviously they are very much a dangerous species as well, but it's more so for their own protection. So it's all done in an amazing way. And the thing is with these polar bear tours, as I'm sure you can envisage, it's such a dedicated and specialist type of itinerary. It's very, very small groups, and the Canadians especially are amazing with the conservation and the ongoing development of working alongside tourism, but without in causing any issues to the polar bear population. And for that reason, the groups are kept very, very small and are very specialist in what they do. So anybody planning on going to the polar bears to see the polar bears in the main polar bear season, it is a must that you do have to book early. Now, there are other experiences available. Dog sledging is amazing. Anybody who's not done it, I would strongly advise. And that is normally one of the activities that's included in one of the packages. But there's all different various, obviously, the Arctic foxes. There are other wildlife and that's apparent, and there are some wonderful guides that will give you all the local history to tracking all these beautiful animals in a safe and information guided activities. Now we're going to pop over to Alberta and British Columbia, which is on the western part of Canada. And we're going to look at the concentration of all the things that there is to see and do in this area. Now, as you can see, there is quite a bit of obviously horse riding and ranches and things like that. But this is what a lot of people are coming to see. Obviously, the bears up here on the top part of Vancouver Island, and in interior on near to the coast in British Columbia. And if you're lucky, you can see them in the Rockies as well. So they are obviously dotted around. Whale watching is obviously apparent on the coast as well. So we can see the whales or literally from various points in Vancouver to Fino and Victoria. And of course, in the winter months, these blue lines, sorry, are actually showing all the various skiing. Because of the amazing lack of pollution, of course, you can see some dark night viewing, and the opportunity to see the northern lights are here and up here in Yellowknife too. So the majestic Rockies, what more can I say? They really are as beautiful as this picture depicts. From crystal fed, literally beautiful lakes, amazing colours in the summer months, frozen in the winter, of course, but they are so untouched, and the sheer majesty and the size of the Rockies is breathtaking. It really, really is. Wanted to give you an idea, just in Alberta alone, of what the estimated wildlife population is. So as you can see there, oodles and oodles of moose and black bear and elk, and even, the grizzlies as well in Alberta. So you can see them in Alberta. However, we do seem to see more in British Columbia. Please don't ever forget about, obviously, the local culture and history. If any of you are particularly interested in this, we have a lot of cultural tours and historic sites in and around Alberta and British Columbia especially, where you can actually learn all about First Nations culture, First Nations, the tribes, and everything from the tracking, the historical, the various museums, and there is so much to see and do in and around. We even do, if you wanted to, some whale watching tours where you actually go out with a First Nations chief's tribe, and actually track the bears on foot. It's an amazing and unique activity, and one that I know I would certainly love to do. So there are so many different tours available, and I just wanted to show you even the buffalo. That this is in Alberta. This is a very historic site that actually was called, it translates to, I can't pronounce it in the First Nations term, but the UK, sorry, the English transversion is Buffalo Head Smashed In Jump. And it's literally where the buffalo, where they used to cull the buffalo by driving the cattle and driving the buffalo off the cliffs. So obviously that's not done anymore, but obviously there is a really huge population of them in and around this area. Now, we can't mention Calgary without mentioning the Calgary Stampede, which is a phenomenal 10-day rodeo that operates every July. I mean, this is the Stampede ground. You see, obviously, fun fair and fairgrounds and whatever. But the whole city goes cowboy crazy. So there is afternoon rodeos, chuck wagon races, parades, you name it. But it is a real life rodeo. These guys are quite serious. So it's not just put on for tourists. They actually compete and travel in from all over the world. It is the world's largest rodeo. Beautiful opportunity to obviously see and get up close and personal as well with some of the horses. However, just be mindful that Calgary Stampede, because of those 10 days, if you want to go and visit the Stampede, you do have to book that well in advance, because the whole city does sell out. However, if you don't want to go, I would avoid those 10 days, or 10 or 14 days really, because obviously everybody going to Calgary will often travel onwards to the Rockies. So in and around that time, not only is it expensive because it's the most peak time, it is going to be very, very limited on availability. Now, just a short drive from Calgary is my favourite Rockies resort of Banff. It is absolutely stunning and a perfect base for doing any type of wildlife adventure. We do various day tours here, or evening wildlife safaris, or why not just chillax and just enjoy the spring, the natural springs there too. There's loads of walking and hiking opportunities, guided or self done, and it's just a beautiful area to be. You can see the town site, an aerial shot of Banff here, and just amazing locations and how serene this scenery really, really is. The enchanting and famous Lake Louise, and that's Moraine Lake Lodge too, is only 40 minutes drive away. That is the very famous Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise, which is a beautiful hotel. And you can even do a hike all around the lake with one of the guys based at the hotel, who will point out areas of interest and obviously talk about the local bird life and general wildlife that can be seen in and around there. Now, traveling in Canada, there are various options to actually see and do and travel. Via Rail is the Canadian rail network, and it operates throughout the whole of Canada, but their flagship train is called the Canadian, this is a shot of the Canadian. It actually operates Trans-Canada from Toronto to Vancouver. So it takes 4 nights, the whole journey, operates year-round on selected dates. However, you don't have to buy the whole segment, you can just do elements of it. For any real rail buffs, this is the train that you actually sleep on board. So you'll meet the locals, you'll meet the Canadians. The Canadians themselves travel on this. From a personal point of view, I'm very fortunate. I've been lucky to have been on both the Via Rail and the Rocky Mountaineer. I'll speak to you about in a moment. I personally will grade Via Rail as about 3.5 star. So it is a little bit more reasonable than the Rocky Mountaineer, certainly if you're doing a comparable journey. However, just be mindful of the fact that it is a very, very vast network, a really inexpensive way of getting about, or a lovely way to see some of the wildlife from the train tracks. You know, it's amazing opportunities. You are traveling through some of these most spectacular scenery, and you will certainly see the bighorn sheep, and if you're lucky you may see bears, bald eagles, and these are just all the normal things that you will see upon the way. But as I say, rail travel massive in Canada. We are the only UK rail agent for Via Rail. So if you want to encompass traveling on board a Canadian train as part of your itinerary, you don't have to do the whole thing by rail, but it's certainly an option to consider. These are some of the bighorn sheep that I saw when I was on there. Now, the other alternative to traveling through the Rockies on rail is with the famous Rocky Mountaineer rail tours. So they operate a 2 or 3 day rail tour that runs through the Rockies on a one-way. They do some circular, but most people do it on a one-way basis. They have 2 levels of service, silver and gold leaf. And gold leaf is actually based in these larger cars because they have the dome seating at the top and then the beautiful dining car. It's very much like all inclusive, a bit like a high-end 5-star cruise, but on rail. So beautiful, beautiful way to see the Canadian Rockies in luxury. It really, really is. The main difference between this compared to the Canadian is that this is more 5-star, and you don't sleep on board the train here. Halfway through your journey, you actually arrive into a designated area, and you actually spend overnight on board in a hotel, and then you get back on the train the next day. So amazing, absolutely phenomenal, and it runs from April through to October on selected dates. Gets very, very busy though, and if you can afford push the boat out, I would go gold leaf all the way. Now, Jasper is very much tranquil and quieter of the two Rockies resorts, not as built up as Rockies resorts are, but in the northern part of the Rockies. And what makes Jasper especially busy, though, is that both of the trains, the Canadian and the Rocky Mountaineer, arrive and depart from this area. So very, very busy, beautiful location, surrounded the foothills of the Rockies, gorgeous lakes and opportunities to go again wildlife viewing and just to chill and enjoy the spectacular scenery. This actual drive between Banff and Jasper, if you're doing that by road, it's called the Ice Fields Parkway, and it's an amazing, as the name depicts, ice fields, crystal, beautiful clear mountains and gorgeous lakes. The scenery is no better. So if you want to drive, or you can go on a coach tour, or you can go on a escorted tour, they will generally all take that route at some point. I mentioned dark sky viewing, so look how beautiful all those stars are speckling away. Summer experiences, lots of different things, some walking, hiking, say if you're lucky, bear viewing, so cycling and just enjoying the spectacular scenery. I mentioned sort of traveling your way. So you can do self-drive tours or motorhome tours, whichever you prefer. We can do combinations of different things with coach tours as well. But maybe you fancy just hitting the open road and just traveling at leisure, but having everything pre-planned and pre-arranged for you. Canada is certainly not like the States. You do need to book your accommodation because they don't have motels on every highway and byway. And, you know, these areas do get especially busy. However, it's a beautiful way and a very relaxed way of doing your journey. we do, as I say, wildlife experiences to suit every budget. And I do have a couple of videos. I'm going to pay you with these. Forgive me that the sound is not always wonderful, but you'll get an idea of some of the type of resorts that we actually feature. How beautiful is that panorama to wake up on? How amazing is that? It is just beautiful. And as I say, we do lots of different resorts. I want to give you an idea of one of our like deluxe type of resorts, and I'm going to show you a bear viewing lodge shortly. I mentioned that there's lots of other wildlife and bird life and marine life available, obviously to see in and around. So I'm sure you will see some of these beautiful creatures. And then Vancouver is a gorgeous city that many passengers will finish their itinerary off in Vancouver. But really, you must visit Vancouver for at least a couple of nights just to see the sheer cosmopolitan city that it is. And lots of people can combine a Rockies and Vancouver holiday with traveling up to Alaska. And we do all the various Alaskan cruises with Miles Morgan. So you name it, from the large, like this is Holland America, for example, through to the small ship cruising. And what better way to get up and close and personal? And there are some amazing wildlife opportunities, wildlife, bear viewing, and whale watching to actually see and do in Alaska, and operate all throughout the cruise itineraries. So they tend to operate May through to September time, but they are another way of actually experiencing the lights of what all that Alaska has to offer, either in a one way or a round trip itinerary up to the Inside Passage in Alaska. Now, Vancouver Island, British Columbia, as I say, has got oodles of these beautiful resorts, and some to suit every budget. So the location, a lot of these resorts, where they're only accessible by float plane or by boat, purely to enable them to be in the best locations of seeing the bears. You know, there's no road access, there is no traffic to spoil the whole adventure, I suppose, and actually scare off the birds. So it's very much gorgeous settings, you know, pristine lakes and amazing forests. But not only that, you can be miles away from civilization. So it's a beautiful playground, and we have loads of different resorts and lodges to suit everybody's budget as well. So, you know, whether or not you're splurging and having a few nights and enjoying the spas, or whether or not you're going to a rustic lodge just for the bear experience, rather. So it's a lovely lodge, only small, but offers amazing wildlife viewing, grizzly bear viewing rather, and a lot of people will stay here for a couple of nights. So I do have a video to show you. Again, please ignore the sound, but I think it gives you a really good ideas. Okay, it's beautiful, isn't it? So I literally wanted to just briefly touch on Alaska for you. So, obviously, all the different wildlife opportunities that are available in Western Canada. For those of you that want to travel up to Alaska, we also do all the various. We do the Alaskan Railroad. You can see the vast expanse of Alaska, very much like the Rockies, and the same type of opportunities, bear viewing and whale watching, just maybe on a lot more grander scale. So you can imagine that even Canada is amazing. It's a little bit more, how can I put it, the tundra and it's just more, it's not as populated. It's certainly just that little bit more vast, and just not as popular generally. We can go and see the lights of the bears at Kodiak Island, and we can see some of the towns that have been kept in the Wild West days. So some of the frontier towns. So it's quite a unique type of adventure. And then with every set of itineraries that you arrange with Miles Morgan, we do you a fully comprehensive, fully comprehensive documentation pack. So all of your tickets and your itineraries are personalized just for you, with a day by day itinerary of everything that you're going to see and do within your itinerary. And really, that's the end of my presentation. So I'm just going to check the chat for some questions, okay? Because I think we have a few on here. Bear with me just one moment. Okay, so let's see. So somebody's asking me the best time of year to travel. Um, well, depending on what you want to see and do, I think I've already mentioned that Atlantic Canada is a slightly shorter duration. So you tend to, if you're going to Atlantic Canada, that is normally June to September time. But with regard to the summer months, you can certainly cruise and do Alaska up until May through to September. And the Rockies really for the summer months, May through to even early October. But obviously you can expect some more snowfall and things like that later on. However, with regards to durations and things, I can see somebody's asked us for where can you combine east and west quite feasibly. If I'm honest with you, yes, of course you can. It all depends on your time constraints more than anything, as well as your budget, of course. You would need to really give, I would say, minimum of a week in Atlantic Canada. And then if you were going to either get the trade, or we would more often than not fly you over to Western Canada, we could then do you a minimum of 2 weeks in Western Canada to get the best of the Rockies, maybe do a train journey, maybe doing even added on an extra week to do an Alaskan cruise. So I would really say if you want to do east and west, you're really talking minimum 3 weeks. If you want to do Alaska as well, you are talking at least 2 weeks in Western Canada and a week in Alaska, or a minimum of a week in Western Canada. Again, it all depends upon your time frame. Um, as you may have gathered from the type of holidays that we can do with Miles Morgan for you, we can certainly include any of those types of things for you. Now, somebody's asking me about itineraries for 2022. Yes, we are booking itineraries for 2022 now, and already, obviously, because of the current climate as well. Lots of people have rebooked, and there are already quite a few, certainly the bear viewing lodges, that are getting quite full already. So, if you are planning on booking, certainly the likes of like Night Inlet, for example, has some dates in September already sold out. So you really need to be thinking and going into Miles Morgan imminently, really, for us to start working on an itinerary for you. Now, somebody else is asking me all the various types of holidays, what type of, okay. So with regard to the type of holidays that we can arrange for you, all we want you to really do is liaise with the Myers Morgan travel agents and speak to them and give them an idea of what it is you want to do, or maybe it's on your bucket list, or you've always fancied doing a bear viewing lodge, or you want to see a whale watching tour. And then that is the minimum information that we need from them. And then together with their expertise and ours, we can put together a bespoke itinerary for you.